there just literally threatening the president with
Yep.
so much, talking about there's errors in their quiver and we're going to do everything we can to stop this. And she's come close, Mark. I tell you,
That's right.
Pelosi has come as close as anybody has, in my humble opinion, of blaspheming the Holy Spirit. I'm telling you, she has come as close to being a destructive force in this country. And I was thinking about this today, and it's funny you brought this up. I've never seen a party. I mean, I'm talking about a group of men and women that have basically sold themselves to do wickedness and sold their souls to do evil against a nation and a president like this party has. And then with a straight face come before the American people and tell us if they get in power, they're going to fight for us. When everything they have done is to promote the very things we're talking about tonight. And they're promoting such darkness and wickedness, Mark, that it beggars description. I mean, look, and I want to go back to this discernment of good and evil, and it goes back to accountability. Look, if you can't look at the actions of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I'm not talking about a personal part here, I'm talking about her legacy or her decisions. If one cannot look at her legacy, if one can't listen to Nancy Pelosi, if one can't listen to Chuck Schumer, if one can't listen to Hillary Clinton, all of them, if you can't listen to any of these people, Nadler, Schiff, all of them, and say that's evil what they're talking about, that's wickedness what they're talking about, you can't discern good from evil. And you've got a far bigger problem than anything that me and Mark Taylor is saying tonight. And some of you get your little feathers ruffled by some of the things on this show. I'm going to tell you something. If you think this is rough, I tell you what, start living in a world of wickedness when you've got wicked leaders over you. You'll think this show's a patty cake, bake your man, throw them in the oven and rolling in the pan kind of thing compared to what's coming if you don't get your country together and you don't start fighting for your country. Look, I don't have no apologies for this show. I love this show. And look, this Southerner here, I just let it all hang out. I've never apologized for letting it all hang out, and I never will, because I know what I'm fighting for, Mark. And I'm going to tell you something, though. These leaders, these wicked leaders, are perilously, dangerously close from crossing the line, I believe, I really do, where God is going to respond. And whether they're taking off the landscape physically or taking it off politically, they're going to be removed from this landscape eventually. Because God, I just do not see how God can endure much more of this that's destroying this country. And with as many Christians praying for the country, look, he's going to listen to his people. He's going to listen to his people if they will pray and humble themselves and turn from their wicked ways.
Right. Well, you got Pelosi even discussing the possibility of impeaching Trump to stop the SCOTUS nomination.
Again.
A lot of this stuff's being allowed, so people will have to live this out. We already know that, so because we have a lot of people out there that still haven't opened their eyes and ears. But the accountability thing with the leadership, Chris, look, I've said this 1,000 times. God's done with the PhDs of the world. Who are the ones that killed Jesus?
That's right.
The Pharisees.
The Pharisees, man.
The ones who were the educated ones, the ones that they got the master's degree, the PhDs, the BS degrees. Yeah, you got a BS degree, all right. But I mean, the fact of the matter is who did Jesus pick to spread his gospel?
That's a great point.
It was the common everyday man that he chose. And it's going to be that way now. Again, he's choosing the everyday common man that's going to move his gospel forward, that's going to flow in signs, wonders, and miracles. Jesus, what did Jesus do? He literally said, look, you guys are your father's the devil himself.
Yeah.
It was the PhDs, it was the Pharisees, the educated ones, that he was calling them out.
And the religious.
And the religious. As he was calling them out as being, your father's the devil, period.
Right.
Because again, the big degrees, look, I'm not saying all of them, but the problem is this. I've warned about this, is that it creates a spiritual arrogance, a pharisaical religious spirit that thinks they know it all, that they can't be told anything. It creates a pride and arrogance on a level that's not been seen. Right. And I have warned against this and warned against it, that God's not tolerating this anymore. This is part of the judgment that's going to be handed down. And if people don't stop, humble themselves, and repent, I don't know what to tell them.
Yeah. It's not going to be a good
look,
time.
that doesn't just go for religious leaders. This goes for even political leaders.
Political leaders too, Mark.
This goes for everyone. I don't care who you are.
Yeah. I want to run a couple of stories by you I read today, and we'll just talk about this, and then I'll let you go over some things. One thing I do want to talk about with you real quick is the attempt on President Trump's life, because there's been several prophetic words lately that, again, we need to pray for the president. He's under great danger. They arrested a woman near the Canadian border yesterday that sent him the letter that had ricin in it with his name on it. It's dangerous. Right. That could have been bad. But they tracked her down. They arrested her. But Mark, I don't think that's the last that we're going to hear of these attempts. I think that if there's any call to action tonight on this show, that we must pray for our president's safety. Look, he's in great danger. And I'm going to tell you something. This temperature in the country, we think it's bad right now, this unrest. Brother, I'm telling you something. The next 30 days in this country and the next 40 days with this Supreme Court fight, there is no telling. And look, I need to just throw this caveat in there. You need to pray for Attorney General Barr tonight. You need to pray for Amy Barrett. And you need to pray for Barbara LaJoya, just in case it's her that he chooses. But it seems that Amy Barrett is sort of on his radar right now. And I'm just going to say this to all the conservatives out there. If you're looking for a purity test for Amy Barrett, you're not going to find it. If you're looking for a purity test for Barbara LaJoya, you're not going to find it. I don't care about them being 100% purity. What I do care about is that they're going to fight for the country, fight for the Constitution, and rule according to the rule of law, and fight for life, and not allow baby killing. That's what I care about. Now, if you want to get in the weeds and nitpick every little thing about them, you go right ahead. I'm not going to do that. But let me tell you this. These attempts on his life, I believe, Mark, is partly tied into what happened Friday night. I think these people are scared to death as to what is about to happen. And they're saying if the only way we can do this is to take the president out, we're willing to do it. We're willing to send ricin in a packet and take our chances. And this woman's arrested at the Canadian border last night. Unbelievable.
Look, we this is just what we're hearing about. We don't hear about the attempts that have been made on him.
That's exactly right.
And so how many attempts have actually been made? So we need to be constantly praying for the president. Like you said, by the list of people we need to be praying for. There's two more we need to be praying for. General Flynn, number one, that he gets exonerated. And Sidney Powell. Yes. Sidney Powell is being thrown up now to be the head of the FBI, I believe now. Her name's coming up.
I've heard that.
So there's a possibility there. And, if that's the case, FBI's going to get straightened out real quick.
Without a doubt. I'm going to let Mark take a few things. I know he's got a few news stories. I got a few. I'm going to just say this tonight, folks. President Trump is speaking at 8 o'clock tonight. That's why we're sort of on a little early. We're not going to go as long. We're going to go to about 7:45. So we got about 20 minutes or so, maybe 25, something like that. So if you got a few questions in about 5 minutes, start putting those in. But that's why we're going to get out of here a little earlier on you tonight, because we don't want to interfere with the president's speech coming up here in Pennsylvania tonight. Mark, go ahead. Anything you got tonight on the news? Go ahead.
Yeah, we got A.G. Barr officially designates 3 U.S. cities as anarchist jurisdictions.
That's right.
Now, that was New York,
Seattle,
Portland, and Seattle.
That's correct.
So, and now I think the other day he was talking about also charging some of these people with sedition. So, guys, they're fixing to drop the hammer on something here. Let's see here. There was another one here. Here's one I wanted to bring up. Here's a prime example right here, Chris. Huffington Post put this out. Mormon activist excommunicated after campaigning against church policies. Sam Young started campaigning after learning his daughter had been asked sexually explicit questions during private worthiness interviews. So because this guy questioned them, they excommunicated him. There's a lot of that going around right now. So that was on his kid. Now, if that was your kid, what would you do? Wouldn't you question us? You know what I mean? See, the problem is this. This is where we were going with this the other day, matter of fact. There's a difference between a Korah's rebellion and accountability. A Korah's rebellion was what happened in the Old Testament when they came against Moses, because Moses' authority, because they didn't like what Moses was doing, but really it was what God was telling him was going on. They didn't like. Now here's the difference. Moses was in the presence of God almost every single day up on the mountain. So much so that there was no corruption in him, Chris. There was no corruption in Moses. Why? Because he had to veil his face because the glory of the Lord was in him. He was in the glory of the Lord. He was in God's presence. Right. If there was any corruption in him, it would have burned it up, period. So they were rebelling against the true authority of God and God himself. Now, What's the difference between that and holding someone accountable? When you hold someone accountable, it's because they're operating in corruption, whether it's corruption of spirit, or in witchcraft, or whatever it is. There's a difference, and there's a biblical protocol, which we don't have time to go into, of how you do it. There's an accountability and there's a rebellion. But the preachers and pastors want you to, they always throw that up. Oh, that's a Korah's rebellion. The second you want to hold them accountable for doing something wrong. So what you're telling me is, I know this is kind of extreme, but if I walk in a back room somewhere of a church and I see a pastor raping some little girl, I'm sorry, I can't hold you accountable because I'm not allowed to. That'd be a Korah's rebellion. See, that's what they would have you believe. This is what has been indoctrinated into people and driven into people's heads. The problem, again, there's a difference between a rebellion and accountability, godly accountability. Two totally different things. Don't mix the two.
No,